Everyone. So now, as we have started the chapter of control and coordination, and now we have completed about the human coordination system as well as the animal nervous system, that was the structure of neuron and the function of the nervous cells, how they interpret the messages to the brain and they integrate it. We also learn about the reflex actions and the reflex arc and how do they work. Okay, as we all know that the reflex actions and reflex arc are quite faster than the interpretation of the brains and takes less time to respond. Okay, so we also studied about the human brain. Okay, as I told you that human brain is quite important to you. We also saw the peripheral nervous system, which is the connection between the human brain and the spinal cord. We can also say that the peripheral nervous system consists of a cranial nerves which was originating from human brain, and the spinal nerves which was originating from spinal cord. Okay, so you need to know that we also saw that the human brain is divided into three main parts, that was the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Later on that it was also converted into three parts in hindbrain, that was also known as pons, medulla and cerebellum. We know that the human brain is protected by the cranium structure also known as skull. Cranium structure also known as skull. Okay, and this forebrain and the human brain is connected by a spinal cord which are responsible for the interpretation of the messages between them. Okay students, fine, I hope you are clear with this. So we also saw yesterday that how are the tissues protected, as we all know that now human being brain is seated inside a bony box, and the bony box is filled with a fluid filled balloon which is provides further shock absorption, okay. And we also know that the spinal cord is been protected by the vertebral column or backbone. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column or backbone. Okay. We also saw that the how does the nervous tissues causes actions, and we know that that is the movement of muscles, and then the muscles will integrate the body parts whatever the changes we need. Okay, so now today let us move to the coordination in plants. In coordination in plants also we talked about the Chuimui that belongs to the Mimosa family of plants. The another name of the Mimosa family of plant is known as touch me not or sensitive plant. Touch me not or sensitive plant. They begin to fold up and drop if we touch them, and so they are known as touch me not plants. Touch me not plants. When a seed germinates, the root goes down, the stems come up in the air. What happens? Firstly, the leaf of the sensitive plant move very quickly in response to touch. They move very quickly in response to touch. There is no growth involved in the movement. On the other hand, the directional movement of the seedling is caused by the growth. Okay, if it is prevented from growing, it will not show any movement. So let us see that what are the immediate response to the stimulus. As we all know that whenever we touch a mimosa family plant, they will fold up their leaves. But the question arises is, there is no nervous tissues nor they have any muscle tissues. Then how does the plant detect the touch, and how do the leaves move in response? How do the leaves moves in response? Okay, so that is the main question arising over here. If we think about where exactly the plant is touched and what part of the plant actually moves, it is apparent that movement happens at a point different from the point of touch. That means there is a communication between one plant to another plant, or we can say there is a communication between from one leaves to another leaves and from one that leaves to the another. That means the communication systems in plant is done by the consecutive manner, one after the another. But what does this communication leads to? So it is written over here that information that a touch has occurred must be communicated. The plant also use electrical chemical means to convey this information from cell to cell. But unlike in animals, there is no specialized tissues in plant for the conduction of information. Fine students, you should know that the electrical and chemical means to convey information from cell to cell plants are having, but still they do not have any type of specialized tissues in plant for the conduction of information. Again, as in animals, some cells must change shape in order for movement to happen. Okay, they can also change their shape, size as well as the position in order to movement. Instead of the specialized proteins found in animal muscle cells, plant cells change shape by changing the amount of water. Plant cells change shape by changing the amount of water, resulting in swelling and shrinking and therefore in changing shapes. So student, as I told you earlier, that if you will pluck a flower bud from a shrub and keep it into the water filled bowl, what happens? In the next morning the flower grows up. Why does that happen? This is not because that the flower bud is alive, but this is due to the shrinking and the swelling of water particle into it. This is because of the shrinking and the swelling of the water particles into it. Okay. So that is the movement of growth due to plants. That is the movement of growth due to plants, water. So today we will start a new topic, and that is known as movement due to growth. That is movement due to growth. As we have seen that some plants like pea plant climb up other plants or fences by means of tendrils. What are tendrils? Tendrils are the long wired structures grown in the plants which are used for the climbing of the plants in the fence, wall or another plants. Okay, they are known as tendrils. They are known as tendrils. These tendrils are sensitive to touch. These tendrils are sensitive to touch. But when they come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as a part of tendril away from the object. Okay, when they come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as a part of a tendril away from the object. So just now you can see that they need one medium to travel from one place to another. Okay, they need one medium to travel from one place to another. So if the tendril is having any support such as a fence, wall or a bark of another tree, they will grow fast. But if they are not having many means of transportation, they will be as it is. Means the growth will be limited over there. The growth will be limited over there. This causes the tendril to circle around the objects and thus cling to it. More commonly, plants respond to stimuli slowly by growing in a particular direction. More commonly, plants respond to stimuli slowly by growing in a particular direction because this growth is directional. Okay, so these are they are growing in response to the direction. If they get any parts, they will climb. If they won't climb. Okay, I hope you are clear with this, students. So the growth in respect to the direction, it is the growth with respect to the direction. Because this growth is directional, it appears as if the plant is moving. Okay. Now let us understand this type of movement with the help of an example. Okay. So now see you students over here. There is a cardboard, and inside a cardboard there is a glass flask kept and a plant is grown inside it. What happens in a conical flask? From where the window the sunshine is coming, the plant's growth will always move towards the sunshine. The plant's growth will always move towards the sunshine. You can see over here that the stems, the flowers, the leaves and the bark are always attracted towards the sunshine, whereas you can also see that the growth of the roots inside the conical flask are attracted in the opposite direction of the sunshine. So roots are attracted in the opposite direction of the sunshine. Okay students, I hope you are clear with this. So this is also known as response of plants to the direction of light. Okay, the response of plant to the direction of light. So there are the various types of tropism through which a plants are being attracted, as well as various forms of attractions are being created. Let us see that. Environmental triggers such as light, gravity will change the directions that plant parts grow in. These directional or tropic movements can be either towards stimulus or away from it. Fine. It is not necessary that always the growth will be with the direction of the tropism. It can be also with the direction of the tropism as well as against the tropism. Shoots respond by bending towards light, while roots respond by bending away from the lights. So in total, there are many types of tropism that we are going to learn today. Okay, as we all know that if we touch a plant and it will respond, it is known as thigmotropism. The growth of plant in response to touch. Remember students, I am speaking just now. The growth of plants in response to touch is known as thigmotropism. The growth of plants in response to touch is known as thigmotropism. Fine. So that belongs to the mimosa family, as we have seen earlier. The next thing is the growth of plant with response to the gravity of earth, that is the roots. The growth of plants with response to the gravity of earth is known as geotropism. The growth of plants with response to the gravity of earth is known as geotropism. It is known as geotropism. Please note that students. Okay. And the growth of plants in response to water, it is known as hydrotropism. The growth of plants in response to water is known as hydrotropism. Whereas the growth of plants in response to chemical change, the growth of plants in response to chemical change is known as chemotropism. Fine students, now we are done with thigmotropism, geotropism, hydrotropism and chemotropism. One more thing we saw in the activity that is not given in the textbook, but I am telling you that the plant upper parts, that is the shoots, stems, leaves, fruits and seeds, are always attracted by the sunlight. Then that type of tropism is said to be phototropism. The growth of plant with response to the sunlight, the growth of plants with response to the sunlight, it is known as phototropism. It is known as phototropism. I hope students you are clear with this. Okay. So what we learned today, that were the 5 types of tropism which are in response to touch. So the first was in response to touch, the growth of plants in response to touch is known as thigmotropism. The next thing was the growth of plants in response to the gravity of earth is known as geotropism. The third one was the growth of plants in response to water is known as hydrotropism. The fourth one was the growth of plants in response to the chemical change is known as chemotropism. I will give you the example for the chemotropism. Fine students. And the last one is the growth of plants in response to the sunlight is known as phototropism. It is known as phototropism. Okay, so these are the 5 tropisms that will be asked in the examinations. You please pay attention to this students, because it is quite important to us. In examinations, they will be asking that the growth of stimulus and explain the tropism. You need to give this 5 names. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. So let us read this. The example of the chemotropism is the growth of pollen tubes towards ovules. The growth of pollen tubes towards the ovules is an example of chemotropism, about which we will learn more when we examine the reproductive processes of living organisms. We examine the reproductive processes of living organism. Let us now once again think about how information is communicated in the body of multicellular organisms. Let us now once again think about information is communicated in the bodies of multicellular organisms. The movement of the sensitive plant in response to touch is very quick. The movement of sensitive plant in response to touch is very quick. The movement of sunflowers in the response to day or night is different, and that you can, yes, so that is the example of phototropism. As you all know, sunflower changes the direction as the sun changes its direction. So over here you can see that the sunflower will change its direction once the sun is changing the direction, and so it is also known as phototropism. It is also known as phototropism. Okay students, I hope you are clear with this. But the growth related movements of the plant will be even slower. Even in animal bodies, there are carefully controlled directions to growth. Our arms and fingers grow in certain direction only. Yes, we know that our fingers and arms only grow in the single direction, and so that it won't look weird. Just imagine how bad we will be looking if our arms would grow in the different directions, that our arms would grow in the different directions. So each and every organs of the plants are also grown in the respected manner, either it can be slow or fast, but the growth will take place. If fast responses to the stimuli are to be made, information transfer must be happen very quickly. For this, the medium of transmission must be able to move rapidly. The medium of transmission must be able to move rapidly. Okay. Electrical impulses are an excellent means for this. Electrical impulses are an excellent means for this. But there are limitations to the use of electrical impulses. Okay, there are many types of limitations to use the electrical impulse. First, they will reach only those cells that are connected to the nervous tissues and not each and every cell of the animal body. Okay, they will only reach to the cells that are connected to the nervous tissues and not each and every cell in the animal body. Secondly, once an electrical impulse is generated in a cell and transmitted, the cell will take some time to reset its mechanism before it can generate and transmit new impulse. In other words, cell cannot continually create and transmit electrical impulses. In other words, cell cannot continually create and transmit new impulse. In other words, cell cannot continually create and transmit electrical impulses. Thus, no wonder that most multicellular organisms use another means of communication between cells, also known as chemical communication. Fine. So the communication done without the transmission of the nervous cells or the nervous tissues, it is known as chemical communication. Okay, the transmission done without the help of nervous tissues or nervous cells, it is known as chemical communication. It is known as chemical communication. I hope students you are clear with this. Okay. So in plants also we can say, though there are no brain, no thinking tissues or nervous cells or nervous tissues, but still there is a level of transmission between them, and that is done by the chemical transmission. That is done by the chemical transmission. Okay. Instead of generating an electrical impulse, stimulated cells release a chemical compound. Instead of generating an electrical impulse, stimulated cells release a chemical compound. This compound would diffuse all around the original cell. Fine. So they have also given us the example that sometimes it is not the consecutive manner the chemical compound is transmitting the information. It can also be like that if one mango is bad, it will make each and every mangoes nearby them bad. Okay, so it is also like that. I just gave you the example about the mangoes. It is not like that. That is the example, that if one mango it's rotten, it will make all the other mangoes nearby it rotten. Okay. If other cells around have the means to detect this compound using special molecules on their surface, then they would be able to recognize information and even transmit it. Fine. So it is just like a leaves on that mimosa plant. If one leaves get the message of the transmission of the message, it would send all the other surfaces of the molecules to transmit and recognize the information. This can be slower, of course, but it can potentially reach all the cells of the body. But at last, it will potentially reach all the cells of the body. Regardless of nervous connections, and it can be done steadily and persistently, these compounds or hormones used by the multicellular organisms for control and coordination show a great deal of diversity. They will show a great deal of diversity. Different plant hormones help to coordinate growth. Different plant hormones help to coordinate growth, development and response to the environment. Okay, different plant hormones help to coordinate growth, development and response to the environment. They are synthesized at places away from where they act and simply diffuse to the area of action. Simply diffuse to the area of action. So students, you can know over here that there are many types of compounds or hormones. What are the hormones? They are responsible for the growth of the human body. They are responsible for the growth of the human body. As the age of the puberty increases, the male voice gets deeper, the hairs on the mustaches is grown. Okay, so the muscles grows up. So these are the forms of hormones or multicellular organisms for the control and coordination that changes. So they can also be said that they are the great deal of diversity. So they are said that they are the great deal of diversity. Okay. Different plant hormones help to coordinate growth, development and response to the environment. They are synthesized at places away from them where they act and simply diffuse to the area of action. Okay. When growing plants detect light, a hormone called auxin. So now students, we are starting today a new topic, that is the hormones in plants. That is the hormones in plants. As I told you, they are responsible for the growth as well as the excretion in the human, sorry, not in human body, in the plants. So the first hormones, when growing plants detect light, a hormone called auxin synthesized at the shoot tips help the cells to grow longer. Helps the cells to grow longer. Okay. So when the growing plants detect light, a hormone is also called auxin. A hormone is also called auxin. Synthesized at the shoot tips help the cells to grow longer. When the light is coming from one side of the plant, auxin diffuses towards the shady side of the shoot. Towards the shady sides. Fine. So the auxin diffuses towards the shady side of the shoots, and this will respond to the growth of the plant. So auxin is also responsible for the growth of the plants to longer. Okay, that means the stem will grow longer. This concentration of auxin stimulates the cell to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. Thus, plant appears to bend towards the light. So, which hormones are responsible for the growth of the plants or to bend towards the light? It is the hormone auxin. It is the hormone auxin. They are responsible for the growth of the plants and bend towards the light. It bend towards the light. Okay students, I hope you are clear with this. Auxins are responsible for the growth of the stems. They are the hormone auxin. Let us see new. Another example of the plant hormones are gibberellins, which helps in the growth of the stems. So gibberellins are also the same type of auxin which are responsible for the growth of the stem, which are responsible for the growth of the stem. Okay. Now as we know that as when we water plants, we add soil to it, and when the rain comes, it gets some proteins, carbohydrates and starch. Then where does these proteins go? And there is a hormone known as cytokinins or cytonins, okay, that promotes cell division. Cytokinins promote cell division, and it is natural then that they are present in greater concentration in the areas of rapid cell divisions such as fruits and seeds. So students, you can know over here that the cytokinins are responsible for the cell division, that the cytokinins are responsible for the cell division, and they will always send more number of proteins and carbohydrates to the fruits and seeds, as they are important part of the plants. Okay, as they are the important parts of the plants. So I hope you will understand that cytokinins are responsible for the cell division. I am continuously repeating because that is important. Okay. But as we all know that at certain age or a certain interval of time, the plant stops growing. The plant stops growing. But plants also need signals to stop growing. Plant also needs signals to stop growing. And one of the example of it is the abscisic acid. It is the abscisic acid. See students, you can see over here that abscisic acid is one example of a hormone which inhibits growth. Inhibits growth stands for it will stop the growth. Okay, its effects include wilting of leaves. You can see in the autumn season that all the leaves fall off, and that is the same form, and it is due to the abscisic acid. If the concentration of the abscisic acid in the plant increases, it will wilt the leaves. It will wilt the leaves. Okay students, I hope you are clear with this. So these are the plant hormones. These are the plant hormones. There are in general 5 type of hormones. They were the auxin, responsible for the growth, gibberellins, responsible for the growth of the stems, cytokinins, responsible for the cell divisions, and fourth, that was the abscisic acid, which stops the growth of the plant, which stops the growth of the plants. What another thing what we saw today was the 5 types of tropism. The first type of tropism was the tropism. The change in response to touch is known as thigmotropism. The change in response to light is known as phototropism. The change in response to water is known as hydrotropism. The change in response to the gravity of the earth is known as geotropism, and the change in response to the chemical change is known as chemotropism. The example was the pollen grains. Fine students, I hope you are clear with the hormones movement due to the growth of the plants. From now onwards, on the next lecture, we will continue with the questions as well as the hormones in animals. Okay, thank you.